Hi everybody. I want to take just a couple minutes to talk about there's my fan, some concerns that I've been made aware of as we dive into the second week of our term together. Can you believe it's already the second week? We were already 1 week through. This class is going to go by so fast. You guys are doing amazing thus far. You really are. The discussion forum conversations were great, exceptional even. The first thing I want to address is for those of you who are in Texas and in Florida, I'm glad you're all staying safe. Let's keep in good, positive communication while we get back on track with our success. Again, your safety comes first. We'll work together to make sure that you get those assignments in. I don't want you to worry about coursework when you're trying to be safe and recoup everything that happened. So just talk with me, let's communicate, and I'm here to support you, and we'll get you there. So if you haven't gotten a hold of me and you were impacted by the storms, do so as soon as you can so that we can get you back on that path of success. And the next thing that I want to talk about is this misconception that is very, very common at this level of student writing, that there is an expectation of how good your writing is. You guys are students. I'm not expecting perfection, and neither should you. You should not expect perfection either. We are students of writing. There's never going to be a perfect paper. Even Stephen King and Ernest Hemingway have been quoted as saying that first draft is always terrible and they're never happy with their final product. I'm not saying you're not going to be happy with your final paper. What I'm saying is understand that this is a learning process. It's a work in progress, and writing always will be a work in progress. So there is no good enough standard that you should be holding yourself to. I'm certainly not expecting perfection, and neither should you. Let's think more about how this is where I'm at right now. This is the level of writing I am at, and this is where I want to be at the end of the term. A little bit better, maybe a little bit more clear, maybe we use our references a little bit better, and our goal in this class is to write a persuasive paper, so hopefully we're definitely improving on our persuasion techniques. But that's the goal for this class, and any writing class you take is to improve. There's no standard of how good you have to be in this class. We're all students, we're all learning. I just want to see you get better and improve and find that confidence that your writing is is a work in progress. Like, you guys are going to do great. You already are doing amazing. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. The next thing that we're going to talk about is this idea of using sources. This week we are starting to look at references that we're going to use, articles, artifacts, that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about it much more in depthly in the coming weeks, but I just want to touch on how I mentioned in one of our previous video conversations that persuasion is like standing on a soapbox. We're standing out on the street corner, preaching to the passerbys about our opinion. In my example, it's the whole Firefly versus Futurama angle. I'm standing there and I'm spouting off on how amazing Firefly is. And I want you guys to listen. And that's what we're doing with our papers. We're expressing our opinion, and we're trying to persuade our audience to believe us. But just like you're probably going to walk by that crazy lady who's standing on a soapbox on the street corner preaching about Firefly, and you're not going to listen to her, our audience isn't going to listen to us if we don't provide some sort of sustainable, substantial proof. And we get that proof from the articles and artifacts that we're looking for. We're looking for data, quotes, statistics, anything we can use to either explain one of our key points, explain maybe one of the definitions that are in there, or show statistics that prove what we're saying. And we'll talk more about that as we go, but that's kind of the underlying purpose, there's my fan, of why we're using research to support what we're saying. It's to give credibility to what we're saying, give credibility to our argument, get us off that soapbox and onto a platform where people are going to take what we're saying seriously, because clearly we've done the work to go out there and find the proof and the evidence to support what we're saying. On that note, I'm wanting you guys to use Shapiro Library. That's the really awesome SNHU library that we have, and it's actually one of the requirements of the course. It's not necessarily my first avenue of research as a student, but it is what we will be using in this course. That being said, if you are not finding good sources, or you're hitting roadblocks, or you're just getting really frustrated with our databases, connect with me I do research for an academic library in my day job, and we'll see, you know, what strategies we can talk about to help you find those articles, or maybe even branching outside of Shapiro if that's what we're going to need to do in order to support your success. However, we have to try Shapiro first. Do not just go out there and start looking at a different database, or please don't just Google stuff. Talk with me, and if we really can't get the resources in Shapiro, then we'll talk together about other avenues for you to use. Alright, the next thing that we're going to talk about real quick, my fan's not shutting off, I'm sorry, it's kind of loud, is reviewing instructor feedback. That's the main way I'm going to talk to you on a one-on-one basis, outside of the texts and the emails that you guys are so awesomely sending me. Really, you cannot contact me too much. Ask me questions 15 times a day. It is genuinely a joy for me to be able to help clarify this stuff for you. I love my job, and that's a big part of it. So ask questions, ask away, email me, text me, and I'm giddy even to help you succeed. I know that sounds cheesy and corny, but you know what? I do what I love. I love teaching. But the other way I connect with you is through instructor feedback in the rubric and in actual commentary on your papers itself. And I will be posting shortly a video on how to find that feedback, but I encourage you to read it closely. I will always offer suggestions and actionable suggestions for improvement to help, you know, move forward with our writing progress and make sure that we're hitting those critical elements. And I'll also start conversations with you that way as well. I leave a lot of feedback on your guys' work because I feel that making that connection and those clarifications are how we find success, by having that conversation. So I do encourage you guys to review that feedback early on, and let's have a conversation if anything is unclear, or if maybe you didn't think my feedback was on point, you have some more questions. I'm here to support you. Chat, text, email, any way, connect with me. I'll be happy to clarify, but do be sure to read that feedback for me. Alright, last thing we're going to talk about is just a small actionable suggestion for you guys with our discussion forums. We're going to have a couple more discussion forums and a workshopping activity in the coming weeks. And one of our critical elements is engaging other students. And for our discussion board activities, we want to do at least 2. For our workshop activities, it's 1, although I encourage you to do 2 if you have time. And in the engagement thing, that's when we interact with each other. And you guys largely did great, but many of us lost just very few points, but a couple points, because engagement goes a little bit more than just saying, hey, you did an awesome job, I love what you're saying here. We want to say, hey, you did an awesome job, I love what you're saying here. But we also want to foster discussion. But a good way to do that is through asking leading or open-ended questions. For example, if we read a post and they were talking about how my moment of persuasion was when I finally convinced my husband to watch Futurama with me. You, to help engage conversation, could say, what was that key moment where you realized that your husband was like, yeah, we gotta watch Futurama? Think of questions to help lead the conversation, to help direct the conversation. Kind of dig a little bit deeper than that. You did great. We want to be supportive in our learning environment, but we also want to foster deeper discussion as well. So don't be afraid to ask questions of each other. And that's one of the things that I'm looking for when I'm grading you guys. Good way to think about the discussion forums is, you know, when we're all in class together, we'd all just raise our hand and be like, hey, Rowan, I got something I want to say to Mr. So-and-so over there. I got a question for him. And that's the kind of mentality we want to approach our discussion forums with. It's our classroom. Let's engage, let's ask questions, let's have good conversations. And that's all of what I have to talk to you about today. If you guys ever have any questions, you know I'm real big on open communication. Connect with me, text me. We can even talk on the phone. We do have to make prior arrangements because I do drive a lot for my day job, and I want to be able to give you my undivided attention. So if you need to talk on the phone, let's text and set up a time. And you can always email me. So let's keep that communication going. This term is already off to a great start. Some of you are nervous. Don't be nervous. You're doing great, and it's gonna continue to be great. You guys got this. If you have any questions, you know how to connect with me. Talk to you later.